So there is a podcast called I Have Had It. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with them, but it's two women and they interviewed Cory Booker. And oh my God, one of the women in particular really let Cory Booker have it. We are going to laugh. We may even drop a beat. We're going to have some fun. So this is Cory Booker on the I Have Had It podcast. And oh boy, he was just cheesing a little too much, wasn't he? Wasn't he? Let's get into it.
Country. And it feels like the Democratic opposition is just not getting it. There are votes that you've made that were heartbreaking to me, like the vote for Kushner. That really pissed me off because I feel like this administration, it's not, are they fascist? They are fascist. It's not, we're on the precipice of fascism. We have Pritzker, Texas is sending troops to Illinois. I mean, and I feel like the opposition needs to be fuck no across the board. We're not giving you a centimeter. And I think there's been a lot of capitulation. I think there's been a lot of Neville Chamberlain type appeasement from Democratic leadership. And you're one of them that's kind of been disappointing to me because we podcasted before. They're serious about Project 2025. They're going to do all this shit. And they're doing every single bit of it. So what do you think? What do you have to say about the capitulation that you've participated in and where the Democratic Party is right now?
You know what I love about this? She said, what do you think about the capitulation that you have participated in? And yes, because Cory has. Cory has. So this is what I mean about holding people accountable, right? All right. Let's hear his response.
Well, first of all, I would say very pointedly that one of the things I dislike about the Democratic Party is that we do a circular firing squad all the time. Their party, they disagree. There's wild disagreements in the Republican tent, and yet they don't shoot at each other. And we have a really good way of holding up these purity tests that if I agree with you on 95...
That's such bullshit. That is such bullshit. They fire at each other all the time. Trump has sent so many people out to pasture, so many people that he calls rhinos. Liz Cheney can tell you that they have the firing squad as well. It's not a purity test. It's are we in this fight, and are we being beholden to corporations and corporate interests, or were we really the party of the working class? And that's what I think the message is.
Two things I'll say.
She said that is bull. She said it's bull to his face. That is what I'm talking about. Oh my God, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I think he feels like he's a little bit under pressure, so we're going to do it.
Let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. Give him a name to remember. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. A moment can live on forever.
A moment can live on forever. Forever.
Say, first of all, if everybody in your coalition agrees with you on everything, your coalition's not big enough. If
it's a cult.
If we don't have disagreements, then we're talking in an echo chamber. Thank God I sit in a caucus with people. I couldn't win in some of my colleague states, perhaps, but we have lots of different agreements, but we are united in the fight against Trump. And I'll say number two, which is really important, is that, we feel the existential urgency. And even though we don't agree on everything, I'm in the trenches with some of the best fighters I have, from veterans like Mark Kelly and Tammy Duckworth, who have, I know Mark's voted on some people I didn't vote for. So we may not be absolutist, but the fighters that I'm in the trench with right now, the sacrifices that they're making for this fight is pretty tremendous. So
he called Mark Kelly and Tim Duckworth the fighters. Cory Booker, I really do think, if the politics game didn't work out for him, I feel like he would have been like an insurance man or something, like someone trying to sell, like back in the day when people would knock on your door and they try to sell like those, like the life insurance package or something. I think he would have been like an insurance salesman or something like that. Or maybe he would have tried to go into the entertainment industry in some way, shape, or form. I saw Cory Booker speak in person, and every bit that I got, every bit of energy that I got from his speech, it just kind of took a hold of me and just shook me and said, this motherfucker is full of shit. Like it really just said that to me. It shook me and said, this guy is a liar. This guy is so fake. Fake. Phony. I've never seen someone so phony as this guy.
Again, I have disagreements with a lot of people. Look, I'm one of a handful of people that don't take corporate PAC money. I don't understand my Democratic
What
Party.
about APAC money? You take APAC money, don't you?
A minuscule percentage of my resources come from
I read it's like 800,000.
Yeah.
Let's see how you do under pressure. A moment can live on forever.
We're gonna drop. We gotta drop the beat. Hey, dance with me. Dance with me. Drop the beat in the street. Because she even knew the dollar amount.
But that's a lifetime number of raising tens of millions of dollars. Let me give you the right stat. The majority of my money comes from small dollar contributions. By last report, I think 76% of it came from people that gave $25 or less.
So if the majority of Cory Booker's money comes from small dollar contributions, and to that point, then you don't need to take money from AIPAC. Oh, am I right? If he's saying that $800,000 is over a period of years, which Open Secrets would show me that, then that means he doesn't really need to take that money from AIPAC. I think he just exposed himself. Like, this interview does not make Cory Booker look better. This interview makes Cory Booker look worse.
So this to me is about, again, we could pick at each other, or we could do what we need to be doing right now, is joining in a chorus of conviction to condemn it. And again, I'm a child of civil rights activists. You think Malcolm X and Martin Luther King agreed on everything? No. Do you think Fred Shaw?
Stop. What did I tell you? The black politicians, no, we got to make this very clear. The black politicians who say, oh, well, Malcolm X and my parents were civil rights activists and da-da-da. Cory Booker, you are the exact opposite of what Malcolm X fought for. Because if Malcolm X were alive today, he would point to you as one of those liberals that's a fox. One of those liberals that was handpicked by white liberals and put in front of the black community. That's what Malcolm X would say to you if he were alive today. So all these people who want to champion Malcolm X and say, woo, rah, rah, and all that type of stuff, you are the exact opposite of what Malcolm X was talking about. I cannot believe he is making the comparison of one of the revolutionary leaders to the Democratic Party. You see what I mean about the neoliberalism? Aye.
In fact, Ella Baker had lots of criticisms about King. But when it came to the fight, they joined together and created a movement that was successful. And that's really what my focus is. And as the only person in the caucus that lives in a low-income black and brown neighborhood below the poverty line. I still remember when some progressives from the suburbs came down to protest me, and they were literally chased away by my neighbors, because we are in an urgency. Every day I see it. We are in an urgency where real people are getting hurt. When I go up and down in New Jersey, they don't care about the fact that I took 1% of my money from some group. They care about, what are you doing to restore my health care?
Stop. So This is false. Because if there were ever a moment in time where more people were paying attention to where politicians were receiving their money, number one, it was during the Bernie campaigns. And then also now it's after October 7th, where people are paying attention to, okay, let's see who those politicians are that are taking money from AIPAC, that are taking money from Kufi. So wrong. You guys think Cory Booker would tell you, yeah, some of my constituents said they don't like the fact that I'm taking money from AIPAC. He's not going to tell people that. He's an actor. He can't even be original. Predictable.
What are you doing to fight for my fact that I can't make rent? And in my caucus right now, we're standing up and fighting for those things and not capitulating, as you said, to Donald Trump's attempts to deny 22 million Americans health care, to see healthcare costs double for lots of them.
Yeah. So Cory Booker, yeah, people are upset about rent. People are upset about the cost of housing. But Cory Booker, you don't support those policies that would fix those types of things because you are to the right of that. That's part of the problem. Two, just to give you an idea, Cory Booker is part of the reason why there was gentrification in New. Do you guys realize he's one of those people, one of those politicians that moved to a low income neighborhood just so he could run? You went from there. Cory Booker grew up in a suburban community. He went to Stanford University, highly educated. But when he decided to get involved in politics, he moved to a low income Black community, moved into the apartment building. Dead serious, by the way. There's a whole documentary about it where you can watch this for yourself because he wanted to run there. He's a gentrifier. What are those people who live in that? What are they saying about Cory now? Because he didn't start off trying to run for Congress. He started off running for local politics. Let's go to the other part here. I think I have another part here that I wanted to get to. Let's put this up on the screen.
And I agree with you to an extent that sometimes far, far left, it can be, they put you through the meat grinder. They put us through the meat grinder. Last Monday, we were the moderators for Kamala Harris's book tour in Los Angeles. Oh, right. And all the leftists were super mad at us. And when we first started the podcast, all of the conservative women were mad at us because we were liberal. And so I certainly understand that sometimes you feel like you can't. It's like, well, they're pissed at me. And I imagine if you're a U.S. senator, everybody's pissed at you. But I will say, now that we've been doing this for 3 years, I do think that the United States, and particularly the Democratic Party, we have to be leaders on this issue with Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu. It's something that there is a big, loud beat in the base that's permeating all across the country. When you have people in Oklahoma that have never been political before start to talk about it. And here's what I'm scared about. And I've been talking to other politicians that have come on the pod about this. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is an anti-Semite. She is a real Jew hater to the core. And she is starting to message now. MAGA is not America first, where they've been Israel first.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene is not anti-Semitic. Right? Do you see how this looks? I got many things to say about MTG, but she's not anti-Semitic. So you see where this is going? What she said to him was that the Democrats should take the right side on this issue, but they don't. And honestly, the problem is the person that she is talking to, Cory Booker, is part of the problem. Because unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'll say this, she don't take money from AIPAC. Cory does. So the reason why the Democrats aren't on the right side of the issue, by the Democrats, I mean the whole party, not individual politicians. The reason why they're not on the right side of this issue is because they're bought and paid for too. That's a big part of the problem. That's why. And I think this really exposed things to a lot of people who maybe didn't follow money in electoral politics. What it exposed is that what do you do when there's an issue that you know is morally wrong and you can't go to one side or the other because they're both capitulate. They both support Israel. They both, dehumanize the Palestinian people, which Cory has also done. What do you do as a voter? Now, for people like me, that answer was not to support either one of these parties. So I voted third party. But I think that if you're like her and they are liberal and you are liberal, your frustration is more so going to be with the Democratic Party. Like, why can't you guys get correct on this issue? So listen to this part.
And for rural people and suburban people, when they hear that messaging, it allows a grifter and an opportunist like Marjorie Taylor Greene, for people that don't follow the 24-hour news cycle, to say, yeah, why do they have free healthcare and we don't? Why are we sending them all of these bombs and they're killing kids and we don't? I think in order for us to come together as a party in 2026, it's going to take leadership saying things like Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. We have to stop funding the war. And we've evolved on the issue. And I think it's okay. I think we're all at a place right now where we can accept that we have the leaders that we have. And I agree with you that we agree on 98 out of 100 things. And if we agreed 100 out of 100, we'd be in a cult, would be MAGA. And we're not that. We're always going to disagree on things. And I genuinely hear you when you say people don't know who Chuck Schumer is. You're exactly right. So many Americans do not know who that is at all. We all do, obviously. And I think the economic messaging, but I do think that if the Democrats leave this vacuum there, it's going to get filled by the people in MAGA that are seeing a post-Trump America. And it's super easy messaging with the America First thing. It's just something I want you to think about, because I think it's a...
Let me pause here for a second. I think she does have somewhat of a point, right? Because what has happened for some folks, right? When people saw that the Democrats couldn't get right on that issue with Gaza, some of them did say that they were going to take their chances with Trump. We saw that in Dearborn, Michigan, right? In Michigan, where some of them did decide to support Donald Trump because he said that he would end it, right? Now, I never believed that, but some people did. So the point that she's pointing out is, if you guys don't get this right, it then opens the door for some on the right to say, well, you know what? Like, supporting Israel is not America first, which everybody should be saying that, not just people on the right, right? But what she's trying to tell Cory is, you guys are losing people to the other side because you didn't get this issue correct, or people just stayed home. I know people that stayed home and did not vote for Kamala or Trump because they just couldn't, with the Gaza thing, they were like, nah. They just stayed home. Some of us voted third party, but ultimately, a good amount of people stayed home. Listen to Cory.
Political liability for our party right now.
They're calling me for a vote. Let me just say this. So first of all, why aren't people talking about when Obama was using American jets to refuel Saudi planes that were dropping bombs on Yemenis children?
We are. So this goes to show you how out of touch Cory Booker is. You know how many times we've mentioned this, especially independent media. We have talked about how Obama dropped bombs on brown kids. In fact, Barack Obama has been confronted multiple times at speaking engagements that he had, including one recently, about his hands in that type of manner. So either Cory Booker is out of touch with everyday people, which I think is true, and then two, Cory Booker is lying. People do say those things, right? See, you see what he's trying to do? He's trying to basically say, okay, well, why didn't this happen here? Why didn't this? And also keep in mind that during Barack Obama, especially his first term, people were not as well versed with social media, right? So social media wasn't as popular as it is now. We didn't see a lot. I know I, for one, didn't see a lot of those images, but people did take issue with it. Let's continue. Jesus Christ. What a tool.
Why weren't we yelling and screaming that? I spoke out against it. But
no, it was bad, but we have to talk about current.
Please let me finish, because they're going to pull me away.
Okay.
Why? And again, I've been fighting for more funding from the Horn of Africa to the Congo to Sudan. Why can't we get people to care in this country enough, where our top podcasts are saying it's wrong that we are implicated in so many things, people dying on the continent of Africa? Why Haiti? Why can't I get top mainstream media people to give a damn about the atrocities there?
Because you don't. And this is all an act. It is hilarious that he's talking about atrocities when you support the very state of Israel that is committing atrocities. Because you don't. And when the politicians don't give a damn, that's why the media doesn't give a damn. If Congress don't give a damn, and most of them are pro-Israel, the media doesn't give a damn. And who owns the networks? Who owns CNN? Who owns Fox News? Who owns MSNBC? Cory knows the answer to all these questions. He's very intelligent. He graduated from Stanford University. He's deflecting to take the heat off of himself. You go on to that same media. Cory Booker appears on the same media outlets that he has an issue with now all of a sudden. Why don't you say those things when you're on the media, Cory? When you were filibustering on the floor and you were talking for all those hours in a row, which was basically a bunch of BS. I think Cory Booker's trying to run for president again. Keep your eye open for that. When you were on MSNBC to talk about your filibuster, when you are interviewed by corporate media on those networks, why aren't you talking about those things? Why don't you bring those things up when you go onto those networks? See, this is the game that they play. So he's trying to deflect. Take the blame off of me.
The International Criminal Court singles out Israel, but not Iran, not Syria, not other folks. I don't understand.
Syria don't have no power. Israel took over. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So he's showing his ass. Cory Booker is speaking like a politician. This is what they do. So let's not talk about Gaza or Israel. Let's talk about why didn't the criminal court go after these other countries and da-da-da. Okay. All right. We hear what you're saying there. First of all, Syria's already been captured. Let's push that to the side for a second. That's also a part of the greater Israel plan, since you brought up Syria, Cory. See, that's why he wouldn't come onto this show. But two, back to the question, what does that have to do with Gaza and Israel? He won't call Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal because he knows his pocket is attached to it.
I'm with you on the ending of the nightmare and the ceasefire. I'm with you on criticizing the Netanyahu administration, which I think is worse than the Trump administration. But as a guy who is focusing so much of my effort on ending human suffering on the planet Earth, on the biggest humanitarian nightmares, I can't get people with powerful platforms to speak even once about the nightmares that are going on.
But when you go onto those platforms, you don't speak about it. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cory Booker. This is who he is. Don't let him fool you. You know, fool me once. You guys can see what is happening here. this was an embarrassing interview for Cory. You'll have to watch the full thing. I just want to see to make sure if I got that other part as well. I think it's embarrassing. I don't think I played the part about the war criminal. Let me show you the war criminal part where she did ask him if he would call it.
Do you think he's a war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu? Do you think he's a war criminal?
I again, these are questions that a lot of people think are the important litmus tests that are loaded and hot. My urgency is to be an effective leader in bringing an end to this crisis. And I get these questions all the time that to me undermine my urgency.
I think the thing that Democrats get so frustrated with, where we are right now, where you see like the Zoran Mamdanis and the Graham Plattners rise up, because they can go on podcasts and you can say, do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? And they just say, yes. And that's the end of it. It's not all of the rhetoric answering. It's like what happens to Democratic politicians, they go through this like prism, and then we can't ever get like the answer to yes or no conversations like you do with Bernie and others. And that's the frustration for the Democratic
Do I think Netanyahu is worse than Trump? Yes.
So do you guys see what just happened there? Yeah, she was basically calling them out for just having a word salad. That's what that was. Another typical politician move. Kamala does it as well. It to me, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. They called out the photo shoot that he had with Benjamin Netanyahu.
I'm one of a handful of people that don't take corporate PAC money. I don't understand my Democratic
What about AIPAC money? You take AIPAC money, don't you?
A minuscule percentage of my resources come from
I read it's like 800,000.
Yeah, but that's a lifetime number of raising tens of millions of dollars. Let me give you the right stat. The majority of my money comes from small dollar contributions. By last report, I think 76% of it came from people that gave.
Yeah, to that point, I said, let me fast forward here when she asked him about, to that point, I said, if that's the case, then he should just depend on the small dollar donations and not take money from AIPAC.
The king agreed on everything? No. But when it came to the fight, they joined together and created a movement that was successful. And that's really what my focus is. And as the only person in the caucus that lives in a low-income Black and brown neighborhood below the poverty line, I still remember when some progressives from the suburbs came down to protest me, and
you moved there. You live there, but you moved there so that you can run as mayor. So you move there and then you brag about it. It's like he moved to the projects and then he brags about, yeah, I live in the projects. I don't live in a fancy place or anything like that. But you moved there to capitalize off of it. So you're a gentrifier. It's just crazy to me. I'm the only one that lives in a low income area. Negro, please. Just stop. Let's get to the part where she said, this part. Here we go.
My healthcare.
I think the Democratic base feels like there is a disconnect. We hear you, like when you did your 25-hour speech, I was like, go, Cory. I love this. That is amazing. And then there's a photo shoot with you with Benjamin Netanyahu. And I was just like, what in the actual fuck? Like, how can he do that? It was heartbreaking. I felt betrayed. Yeah. And that doesn't just happen in an echo chamber. Democrats like you, where the base, we should make each other better. It's not a purity test. We want credible messengers. Because when we are down the middle, beholden to corporate interests, we leave this vacuum, and that's how fascism has flourished. For myself and a lot of our listeners, when I saw the picture with Benjamin Netanyahu, I felt like it diminished your 25 hours. That's how it felt to me.
Because, but that's who Cory Booker is. He's a politician. He's a con artist, right? Again, I saw him speak in person. Like I said before, he was just very fake, right? Yeah, he's in the pocket. That's why he's in the picture with Benjamin Netanyahu. That's why he wanted to pivot away from talking about Israel and start talking about why aren't we calling out Obama for which people have been called out Obama for that. He's a part of it. He's complicit. It is what it is. But they really gave him a time. I saw that interview and I was laughing so hard. I was like, oh boy. Yeah, but that's how you should put that pressure on them like that. He wouldn't come on here. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.